Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Chapel for Europe. I would like to welcome you to this space in the heart of Europe. And today we have the privilege to host this wonderful panel that they're going to discuss about the pushbacks. Also, we have this exhibition downstairs that you can visit after if you want. And this exhibition will be here at the chapel until the 16th of December. So just enjoy the evening, and I give the floor to Ur. Thank you very much.
Okay. Hello, everybody. You're all welcome to Violent Refoulement at Europe's Border panel. So after last week's event in this hall, we are coming here again with 4 important distinguished guests, and we'll delve into this very topical subject. So we have Anehin Hasselager. So we were together last week, maybe for her art, maybe you know, and her friends also here from the Netherlands. She is part of, she is leading actually an arts project about advocacy on pushbacks and refoulements. Maybe she will tell us a little bit about her involvement as an artist into this topical subject. And the next we have Alberto Ares. He is the director of Jesuit Refugee Services of Europe. I have a little bit of information here about him. He's a PhD in International Migration and Development Cooperation from the Universidad Pontificia Comillas, where until recently he was director of the University Institute for Migration Studies. So he's a scholar. He can maybe tell us a little bit both practical and theoretical aspects of pushbacks and refoulements. And we have Ingeborg Burgel. We all know her with her red hat and very direct questions to President of Greece. So, Prime Minister, yeah.
And the Dutch one.
Sorry?
And the Dutch Prime Minister.
The Dutch Prime Minister was there as well, yeah. So, so we are going to maybe get details of the conversation you had there. We have also Hüsniye Hanım. Yeah. Türkçe İngilizce biliyor musunuz? Yoksa ben mi tercüme mi edeyim? Okay. I'll give some translation interpreting assistance to Hüsniye Hanım. She is a victim of pushback to Turkey. Actually, it is refoulement because she is coming from Turkey and she's a Turkish citizen. As a political asylum seeker, when she is pushed back, it's not pushback anymore. It's refoulement. Maybe we can a little bit discuss about the differences of these two terminologies. Yeah. So how would you like to start? Maybe Alberto, would you like to give us a little bit background of pushbacks and theoretical aspects, maybe practical, and how you are involved with pushbacks with your organization, etc.
Okay. Thank you so much. Also, it's for me a pleasure, and also for the organization that I've been working in the last years. I've been here in this panel. Well, the Jesuit Refugee Service Europe is mostly spread from 23 countries. Some of them, or most of them, are also in our borders. So we've been witnesses of pushbacks in different places. I come from Spain, and I've been working there for many years also. So especially in our south border, between Melilla and Nador, and Tetuan has been also a place, the Canary Island, also a place that I know very well. So yeah, in our 23 country offices present in more than 100 cities in Europe, we've been working, or we are trying to work in four main strategic guidelines. One is detention. Well, we accompany people on detention centers. So also is something that we try to advocate for in the European institutions, but also at national levels in different, in different places. The second, I think, is asset to protection, asset to Europe. It's being connected with borders. And, as you know, last month, Ukraine and all these things that involve, in the world, uh, push also our societies, the Europe, but also most of our projects there. So, been working a lot Ukraine in different shelters, and but also in Poland, Romania, Slovakia, Hungary, Moldova. So try to connect these things. The third guideline, probably what we made more in Europe, is integration. Integration at different levels. At different levels and in different countries. In the south of Europe, mostly connected with education, legal aspect, well, shelters, different, something that we call hospitality, that maybe, in our conversation, I can also give more details. And the last one is mostly like awareness raising, especially try to build or to collaborate on a new narrative, on migrants and refugees around Europe, especially with this polarization that we are facing now in the last months, years. Something that is being clear now in Europe is that pushbacks have been really a big issue. You know, I think for many years, many institutions and non-governmental actors at DRS also, but also all the UN agencies, UNHCR, the International Organization for Migration, the Council of Europe, Commissioner for Human Rights, the Committee for the Prevention of Tortures and Human Rights Watch have reported on human rights violation at different borders in Europe. Well, I was mentioning these things, but we have reports every year in different borders around what is having this violation of human rights now in Europe. We know that also the European Court of Human Rights has several judgments condemning pushbacks through the years in Europe. Nevertheless, illegal pushbacks of asylum seekers continue to this day at the European borders. As I was mentioned, one of the guiding principles of GRS Europe is asset to protection. But what does it mean, asset to protection today? People fleeing from conflicts and persecutions have the right to seek and gain protection in Europe. This means, in practice, to physically reach European territory without risking one's life, and being able to gain access to fair asylum procedure and to dignified reception condition. We have this good news now with the Ukrainian refugees in the last months. We see that if it's a political will, well, I would say not the miracle, but what is common, in daily life, and also in having this hospitality, within countries, within neighbors. I think the law clearly states that anyone seeking protection has the right to apply for asylum, and must be given the opportunity to do so. People cannot be sent back across the border without due process and cannot be subjected to violence. We know that the situation has been discussed several times, but the EU institutions are policymakers. Well, at some point, it's the reason why we are still here pushing a little bit more, no? However, I think these incidents continue to occur and they will not represent isolated incidents. I'm going to leave, my words here because there are many other things. No, I like to have heard at the Olaf report. No, and they were saying something about pushbacks. Maybe in my next intervention I can add something. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alberto. Now we have, I'm giving floor to Ingeborg. However, just before giving floor to her, we have a short clip, video clip. You might not be all watch the video, so so you get the idea what she did, why she's important for us. Yeah, and then that might more sense. Asking her some questions. Yeah, now can you please put the video?
In English, right? I have a question for both of you. Prime Minister Mitsotakis, when are we supposed to stop lying? Lying about pushbacks, lying about what happening with the refugees in Greece. Please don't insult mine and neither the intelligence of all the journalists in the world. There has been overwhelming evidence, and you keep denying and lying. This is like narcissistic abuse. Why are you not honest? Why don't you say, Brussels left us alone, we waited for 6 years, nobody did anything, we need to relocate, they don't do it, now I have my say, and yes, I do cruel, barbarian pushbacks. Why did you stop knocking on Brussels' door for relocation, for your acceptance, and for you, Mr. Rutte? What, according to you, are the sanctions that should be imposed on Greece, and maybe on Holland, for accepting this violation of human rights that Holland is co-responsible of? Also, many municipalities in Holland want to take many refugees from Greece, like many minor unaccompanied children. They're ready to accept them, but this Prime Minister opposes to them. So maybe you could find an understanding and the municipalities who are so ready to unburden Greece can actually take in refugees from Greece, which his government opposes. Thank you.
I understand that in the Netherlands we have a culture of asking to be very cautious of politicians, which I very much respect. What I do not accept is that in this office we will insult me, with people, with accusations and expressions that are not supported by material facts, when this country, actually dealing with a migration crisis of unprecedented intensity, has been saving hundreds, if not thousands of people at sea. We just rescued 250 people in danger of drowning south of Crete. We are doing this every single day, rescuing people at sea, while at the same time, yes, we are intercepting boats that come from Turkey, as we have the right to do in accordance with European regulation, and waiting for the Turkish Coast Guard to come and pick them up to return them to Turkey. So rather than putting the blame on Greece, you should put the blame on those who have been instrumentalizing migration systematically, pushing people in desperate situation from a safe country, because I need to remind you that people who are in Turkey are not in danger. Their life is not, your life, please. Your life is not in danger, and you should put the blame on others and on us. We have a tough, fair policy of migration. We have processed and given the right to protection to 50,000 people in Greece, including hundreds of thousands of Afghans. who have been with you. Allow me, have you visited the new camps on our islands? Have you been to Samos? You have not been to Samos. No, please, you have not been. You have not been. Look, you will not come into this building and insult me. Am I very clear on this? I'm answering now, and you will not interrupt me. In the same way, and I listen to you very carefully. If you go to Samos, you will find an impeccable camp with impeccable conditions, funded by EU money, with clean facilities, with playgrounds, for our children, for the children to play, in comparison to what we had in the past. This is our policy, we stand by it, and I will not accept anyone pointing the finger to this government and accusing it of impunity.
I'm absolutely convinced that this Panelist and this government is applying the highest standards, and the fact that they have immediately launched an investigation on this issue of the pushbacks is testimony of that. I will now go back to the situation in 2015 and 2016, when we had many people dying on the agency trying to get from Turkey into Greece and then on to Germany, Sweden, the Netherlands, etc. And I'm happy that Germany, we were holding the rotating presidency at that time of the EU, together with the Turkish government, were able to negotiate the EU-Turkey agreement, by which indeed Turkey is a safe country for people to stay. And Turkey at this moment is hosting over 3 million Syrian refugees in the south of Turkey, in camps, but also in local communities. And what this government is trying to do is to defend the outer border of the European Union. That's not tasks the countries have, who are hanging at the outside of Italy, Spain, Hungary, Slovenia, but also Poland and Greece. And that's an extremely difficult situation. And what I don't want again is for people to be those who are not really equipped to pass the Mediterranean or to pass the agency to die in those circumstances. I want them to stay there, to be safe, and then we will get the European Union to take a fair share of people from Africa, from Turkey, refugees, in line with the plans which have been devised in 2015 and 2016. So this is my answer, and I think there are to answer your questions.
All right, thank you very much. Okay. Before handing over the floor to Ingeborg, I just want to say that until that moment, Ingeborg was a Dutch journalist living in Greece, and then suddenly within Brussels media, among activists, human rights organizations, she started to be known with her symbolic red hat and so brave challenge to two prime ministers at the same time combined. Yeah, actually these words, she was voicing very important stuff that we haven't been chance to tell anyone. That's why Ingeborg's statement was very important for us. Ingeborg, can you please tell us about yourself to us? I mean, you're living, but we know you're living in Greece with the Dutch background. Are you permanently living there, or what's your story? And how did you come up with a journalist to the stage of being activist? Because if you're a journalist, you could construct your questions much differently without, touching the nerve tips of prime ministers. But you deliberately prefer to challenge prime ministers. When will you stop lying about pushbacks? So this is very provoking. Can you please tell a little bit about that?
Okay. Listen, I'm not going to tell about myself because it's completely not interesting. I'm a correspondent based in Athens, and as Maria Reza, Nobel Prize winner, said, in these times, the fight for the truth showing the facts. Journalism is activism. So I really don't understand this weird narrative that journalists who actually take a stand are activists. No, it's our job to reveal the truth, to do our task as a journalist, and that is check the ones who are in power. We have to speak truth to power. I'm sorry I don't have my red hat. It's at the red hat hairdresser, or how you put it, the hat dresser. It was in too many demonstrations when it rained, and then the red hat kind of died. So I'm here with a black hat. But yeah, this happened on the 9th of November last year. And it was 2 years after lies, endless lies of the Greek PM and the Dutch PM, because I don't know if you realize, but the Dutch PM actually said, I totally trust this lying Greek prime minister. Okay, that's what he said. Let me first tell you, first of all, I really want to know, do you guys know what pushbacks are? I mean, do you know? Please, I want to see hands. Do you know how they really work in detail? How barbarian they are? So who doesn't know? Please, hands. Okay. Okay. Well, pushbacks used to be in the first time in the beginning. Actually, they started in December 2019. When COVID was in China and not yet in Europe. And that were the first signs of the Greek Coast Guard. Now, you have to understand the Greek Coast Guard consists of very chic people, the commanders, the hierarchy, as we say in Greek. Could I have some water? Because I get a really dry mouth. Ah, thank you. They have beautiful uniforms, and they're actually there to, especially in tourist time, take care of sailing boat accidents and dealing with, especially shit on the sea with tourism, okay? That's what the Greek Coast Guard does. And suddenly, these people stop little dinghies that cross, you will tell your story later, that cross from Turkey to the close to Turkey islands like Lesbos, Leros, Kos, Samos. These dinghies are overfull, so a dinghy for 16 people will have 30 or 40 or 50 people. They're children, they're women, they're pregnant women, they're screaming, they're in death stress. They usually don't get enough gasoline from the traffickers, a very shitty motor. And what did the Greek Coast Guard start to do from January, February, March, April 2020, more and more and more, is to intercept these little boats. They would destroy the motor, and they would pull them back to Turkish territorial waters. Okay, they were already in Greek waters. Now this is a violation of all international agreements and of all human rights, because every human being has the right to ask asylum. And to do this practice when it's already not on Greek ground but in Greek waters is absolutely criminal. And these were guys that were, before just dealing with tourists, suddenly, like they changed in monsters overnight, pushing back, screaming, howling children and refugees, okay? Then it got worse. Then the little boats who actually arrived on the islands, and the people, 60 or 50, would, hungry, thirsty, traumatized, try on the island, find their way to a camp. They would be intercepted by so-called pushback commandos. Now these are black, dressed in black, you must have seen them, masked, weapon guy with blinded SUV, and at gunpoint, they take these traumatized refugees to a place where they get beaten, everything they have on them is stolen, telephones. You know, the refugees are not crazy. They have little rolls of money in their anus because they try to hide it like that. They even force them to take that out of their ass. They beat the children, they beat the women, they very often force them at gunpoint to undress. So they have to get back on a life raft without motor, naked, or in underwear. And this thing happens all the time. I'm not exaggerating, it happens all the time. And then they're pulled back on these life rafts. We know which factories around Thessaloniki make these life rafts. They're paid by EU money, and they're pulled back to Turkey. And then they started to do the same horror at the Evros River. So especially since this year, because people, I don't know how often you were a victim of pushbacks? Veel? 4 keer, 5 keer? Okay, you have been pushed back once, on the Evros or on sea? Evros. Okay, do you recognize what I'm saying? And you too. Okay, do you recognize what I'm saying?
No, she requires interpreting.
Now, can you translate for me?
Yeah, you asked how many times she was.
No, I asked if they recognize what I have been describing.
Şimdi anlattığı şeyleri anlayabiliyor musunuz? Yani tarif ettiği şeyleri.
Yeah. So the Evros River, what did it say? People who were already on Greek soil, because you do understand, being pushed back from Greek waters is one thing. Being arrested, humiliated, beaten, robbed. I mean, I myself, I ask, what the fuck are these pushback Greek commandos and the Greek Coast Guard doing with all the stolen phones, all the stolen money? I mean, is there somewhere a Greek little pot where all these stolen objects from refugees are, or they divided between themselves? The Evros River is a wild, like, border river between Greece and Turkey, with rocky islands in the middle, and it is very difficult to cross it. It's not like, you swim in a nice little sweet Ardèche river or something. No, I mean, this is really a wild river at certain points, and it's very polluted. These people that are already on the Greek side, the same as on the islands, they are arrested by these black mask dressed weapon men. They're humiliated, they're beaten, and they're put on little dinghy boats and pushed to a little rocky islets in the river. This summer was another worst, because there were 39 Syrian refugees in July on a little rock that had been pushed back from Greek soil to the little rocky island in the middle of the river. It was July. It was very, very hot. There were 39 of them, many kids. And the Greek authorities could, by screaming, having contact with them, okay? For 1 week, the Greek authorities claimed they did not know where they were. Now, this comes after the spring, where the Greek government from the EU got millions and millions and millions in border monitoring equipment. I mean, we're talking drones, we're talking warm cameras, we're talking the most high-tech monitoring system. They could actually scream at them, and in the press for 1 week, they said, we cannot find them. It's 39 persons. They had no food. They had no water. They were forced to drink from the polluted river. And there was the little islet was full of scorpions and snakes, and a little girl of 5, called Maria, got bitten by a scorpion, and she was dying. And the drones saw it. They knew it. My lawyer, my own lawyer, because of the red hat, I'm slapped by the Greek government, so I have 2 court cases. This is a strategy of the Greek government to exhaust journalists financially and mentally by asking them to come to be trialed. And my lawyer happens to be the head of the legal department of what is called the Greek Council for Refugees. And he's the guy who's always in contact with the European Court of Human Rights. So the European Court of Human Rights and the European Council ordered Greece in July this year to immediately take the 39 Syrian refugees stranded on this island, starving with the dying little girl. And you know what happened then? The Greek government claimed the island is Turkish. It's Turkish territory. So it's not up to us to save them. It's the Turks who should do it. And they didn't do shit. And then Brussels got angry, the Council of Europe got angry, and then it came in the press, and Channel 4 had a drone going over the island, and we saw the little girl dying. And then a week later, so they were left on the island 3 weeks, because there was so much pressure. The Greek authorities saved them, but the little girl was dead. Then this summer after, beginning of August, on the Mediterranean Sea, because many times when the Greek Coast Guard pulls these dinghies back to Turkish territorial water, before the Turkish Coast Guard finds them, they're there, they cannot steer, they have no motor, so they're days and nights without food, without water, in their underwear or naked, and sometimes they die of thirst, of hunger, and a little boy of 4 died like that. So when you read the word pushbacks, you have to realize what is behind this little word. And you must understand that what still was shocking in 2015, you all remember this picture of the little Syrian boy that was found dead on a Turkish beach, right? It went over the whole world. This was September 2015. And many NGOs and organizations got many donations because, the whole world was touched by the image of this little boy. Now, this year alone, 160,000 persons like you and you and you have been pushbacks only by the Greeks, because the Croatians do pushbacks, the Serbians do pushbacks, the Albanians do pushbacks, the Romanians do pushbacks, the pushbacks on land, pushbacks on sea. Pushbacks have become the new normal. And they call it refoulement, or deterrence. No. We are in a barbarian way, cruelly, violently let these countries do the dirty work that Brussels wants them to do. Because now, after 3 years, it's now December 2022, and it started in December 2019, I personally don't think these countries I just named are the main guilty party. No, the main guilty party is the EU Commission. Because the EU Commission knows and does fucking nothing. So, as long as the EU Commission does not impose EU rule of law on its own rogue member state, What's left of the EU? What's left?
Many thanks, Ingeborg. So passionate, so informative. Thank you very much for all the speech. Yeah. So in your conversation between the Greek Prime Minister and yourself, he kindly kind of accepted actually the pushbacks. He said that yes, we do intercept.
What's that?
Yeah, he used the word intercept refugees back to Turkey. That's pushing them back. And according to the Prime Minister, Turkey is safe zone for refugees. It is not. It is not. I mean,
Another lie.
Yes, that's another lie. You can, okay, yes, we see images of Turkish police, Turkish authorities welcoming Afghani, Syrian, Pakistani refugees. They're providing them with shelter, providing them with food, providing with new clothes, etc. For propaganda purposes. They do it. But how about Turks? Turkish political asylum seekers, what about them? So far, about 80,000 people had to flee the country. And now, thousands of them have been pushed back. I wish you could ask this question to Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis. How about Turks? I mean, we have examples, many of them here. They try a couple of times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Every time they've been pushed back. You know what does that mean? When you're pushed back into a country where you are investigated, what could happen? What are waiting for you? Torture, ill-treatment, imprisonment. All of these are waiting for you when you're pushed back if you are a Turkish asylum seeker. So maybe at this stage, we can pass the floor to testimonies, the real life stories. Hüsniye Hanım is with us today. Actually, we invited, your name is Şeyma Hanım as well. They kindly came, but there are many examples of victims in this format. Yeah. Hüsniye Hanım, sizin hikayeniz neydi? Size kısaca dinlesek.
You translate?
Yeah.
I will do it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you all.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you all for your contribution and this platform. Her şeyden önce çok teşekkür ederim. Şu platformda emeği geçenlere ve cesaretli gazetecilerimize, sanatçılarımıza emeği geçen gerçekten çok teşekkür ediyorum. Hani böyle önemli, güzel bir, çok üzücü bir olay ama diğerleri bir şeyleri duyurmak adına yapılan bu çalışmada emeği geçen herkese çok teşekkür ediyorum öncelikle.
Thank you very much for organizing all this event, to the organizers, to the participants, to the brave journalists who voiced this fact to the world. It's very important for us, for the victims.
Ben Hüsniye, Türkiye'de bir üniversite personeli olarak çalışıyordum. Daha sonra yaşadığımız haksızlık ve hani hukuk dışı muamelelerden dolayı Aralık 2019 yılında Türkiye'den ayrılmak zorunda kaldım. Ve bir Avrupa Birliği üyesi olan Yunanistan'a sığınma talebiyle bir sırt çantasıyla yola çıktık.
Yeah. I used to be a staff at a university. My name is Hüsniye, and I used to be a university staff in Turkey. In 2019, I was prosecuted, takibe uğradım 2019'da, and I had to, like many others in Turkey at the moment, I had to leave my country because of the injustice in the country. I had to flee the country. 2019'da değil mi? In 2019. I fled my country for my life with a rucksack.
5 kişiden oluşan bir arkadaş grubumuzla birlikte bir tanesi tıp öğrencisi, bir tanesi hukuk fakültesi mezunu ve diğerleri öğretmen olmak üzere 5 kişilik bir grupla geçtik ve Aralık ayı malum biliyorsunuz soğuk bir ay ve Meriç Nehri'ne kadar yürürken ki o çamur ve soğuk yollardan Meriç'e kadar bir 2-3 saat boyunca yürümek zorunda kaldık.
We were 5 in the group, a law university student, a medical student at the university, myself, and we were all together 5 in a group. And it was December, very cold season, and we had to walk kilometers in the cold, and
2 hours, yeah.
we walked about 2 hours.
Meriç'i geçtikten sonra bir saat kadar da Yunanistan sınırında yürüdük ve teslim olmayı, isyan başvurusunda bulunmayı düşündüğümüz karakola yaklaşık 100 metre kadar bir şey kalmıştı. O anda etrafımızı askeri araçlar sardı ve askeri araçların tepesinden siyah maskeli, askeri üniformalı insanlar çıkıp bize silahlarını doğrulttular.
We crossed the border. We managed to cross the border, and we made another hour walk until the police station. The aim was arriving to police station and arrest it and ask for asylum. But just 100 meters before the police station, some police vehicles, official vehicles, stopped us. There were some men with black lavas. Came out, they pointed their guns to us. Silahlarını size doğrulttular
ve orada herkes yani kımıldamamamız gerektiğini söylediler. Arkasından bir 5 dakika öyle bekledikten sonra bir polis aracı geldi. Ve polisler bizden telefonlarımızı topladılar ve hepsini tek tek şifrelerini açmamızı ve içine kontrol etmek istediklerini söylediler. Telefonlarımızı tek tek kontrol ettikten sonra bir poşetin içerisine doldurup polis aracı oradan uzaklaştı.
When they pointed the guns to us, they said, "Okay, wait here. There will be some other vehicle will come, and after 5 minutes, another vehicle, bigger vehicle perhaps, came. They took them to a point where they collected their all belongings, including mobile phones and maybe wallets and things." Cüzdan vesaire aldılar mı?
Just phone.
Mobile phones have been collected. The first thing is perhaps cutting the communication.
Polis aracı oradan uzaklaştıktan sonra bizim beklememiz gerektiğini söylediler tekrar. Ve sonra büyük bir cezaevi aracına benzeyen bir araç yaklaştı. Ve bizi ona bindirdiler. Bindirirken sonra ne yapıyorsunuz? Yani nereye gidiyoruz biz diye. Sonra gülerek, bizimle dalga geçerek hani tabii bu konuşmalar İngilizce geçiyor aramızda. Gidince görürsünüz dedi.
Another vehicle involved in a much bigger prison van looked like a vehicle came and collected us to somewhere we don't know. We asked them, "Where are we going to?" They smiled and they said, "Okay, you will see where we are going to when we arrive there." Yeah.
Çok kısa bir mesafe gittik o araçla zaten ama küçücük bir penceresi var. O pencereden gördüğümüz kadarıyla bizim gitmek istediğimiz polis istasyonuydu zaten orası. Ve polis istasyonuna getirdiklerini fark ettiğimizde biz rahatlamıştık. Çünkü biz bir asylum seeker, iltica başvurusunda bulunacağız ve zaten gitmek istediğimiz yer orasıydı. Yalnız bizi beklettiler, indirmediler araçtan.
It was actually all seemed normal because the vehicle took us to the police station, and that's the police station that we were planning to go to. And we thought that, okay, we're getting there and then filling our forms and applying for asylum. However, they stopped us getting off the vehicle. They hold us in the minibus.
İçerisinin çok kalabalık olduğunu ve bizi o yüzden oraya alamadıklarını söyleyip beklememizi söylediler. Biz bekliyoruz. Dışarıda Yunan bayraklarının olduğunu, resmi araçları gördüğümüzde rahatlıyoruz aslında. Yani ne olacağını tahmin edemedik. Daha sonra bizim aracımızın kapısını açıp aşağı inmemizi ve arama yapacaklarını söylediler. 2 tane kadın polis memuru, 3 tane de erkek polis memuru ve başlarında bir tane de onlara eşlik eden askeri üniformalı bir adam var. O adam zaten sürekli bağıran bir adam.
Şöyle, isterseniz biraz yani hızlandırabilirsek çok detaydan ziyade. Yeah, so telling about the details of the people there. They finally, there were a couple of people taking the process, yeah.
Bizi açık alanda, aracın dışarısında alana karakola almadan açık alanda arama yaptılar ve hani gerçekten hem kıyafetlerimizi hem üstümüzü çok çirkin bir şekilde aradılar. Daha sonra tekrar o araca bindirip 1 saat kadar beklettikten sonra araç hareket etti.
Then they checked all our belongings, clothes, and body as well in a dirty manner. And then they took us to the minibus again.
1 saat kadar o yoldan Meriç'e paralel devam ettik tarlaların arasında ve en son ulaşacağı noktaya geldiğinde durdu araç ve bizleri tek tek aşağı çağırdı. Bizler de aracın kapısına yaklaşanı çekip aşağı indiriyorlardı ve aracı açtıklarında 2 tane siyah maskeli, ellerinde demir sopaları olan mühimmatlı ve ağır silahlı askerler vardı.
Finally, they took us, after an hour ride with the bus, we arrived at the river. They opened the door of the van. We saw 2 people, official or unofficial, we didn't know. People with black clothes on them and holding iron bars in their hand, forcefully pulling people out of the minibus.
İndirdikten sonra Meriç'e paralel bizi götürüp hepimizin diz çöküp ellerimizi arkadan bağlayıp ve başımızı öne eğip sanki filmlerdeki tarama sahnesindeki gibi oturmamızı istediler. Bu şekilde otururken etrafımızda sürekli dönüyorlar ve bağırıyorlar. Duruyorlar, hani ne yapmak istediğini soranlara karşı gelenlerin hem kafasına vuruyor hem tekmeliyorlar.
They made us a single line. They asked us down to bow down, put the head down so we do not see anything, and put the hands back as if they would tie our hands behind. And if there's a question or anything, that they didn't like, they started using force. They were beating up, they were hitting, and they were really scared. Yeah.
O oturmada tek tek arkaya çağırıp arama yapıyorlar tekrar. Diğer kadın arkadaşımızı çağırdığında hani İngilizce de bilmediği için iletişim de kuramıyorlar. Kadının sadece ağlama seslerini duyuyoruz. Ne yaptıklarını bilmediğimiz için çok endişeleniyoruz. Yine tepki göstermeye çalışanlara da yine sert tepkiler gösteriyorlar. O arkadaşımız geldikten sonra tekrar beni çağırdılar ve beni aramak istediler. Ben de daha önce arama yapıldığını, bana dokunmaması gerektiğini söyledim.
So one of the ladies were taken out of the group. I think they made a search, and the lady was unable to speak English. They couldn't speak English. She couldn't speak English, and she heard the screams of the lady because of the search. There was no communication, and when the officials came to Hüsniye, they wanted to take her to the point. She knew that there would be a search, so she denied. She said, no, don't touch. She rejected them.
Ve ben buna karşı koyduğumda üzerindeki mühimmatlardan bıçağını çıkarıp karnıma dayadı. O an hani duygudan duyguya sürükleniyorsunuz zaten ama hani size zarar vermesinden o duyguyu yaşamaktansa ölmeyi arzuluyorsunuz. O an zaten hani tamam ağlama korkma bir şey yapmayacağım ama param nerede dedi. Çantamda olduğunu söyledim. Çantamdan parayı alıp sırasıyla diğer arkadaşlarımıza da bunu yaptı ve o telefon poşetinin içerisinde ses gelen ya da çalan telefonları da ayağıyla basarak ezdi. Arkasından nehirden gelen bir bot sesi duyduk. Hepimizi o gelen botun içerisine doldurdular. Karşı tarafa tam kara sınırına yaklaşmadan bizi suyun içerisine attılar.
Yeah. So then she rejected that. The man pulled out a knife, pointed to her stomach, and she was really scared. She thought that rather than being investigated, checked, I would die here, perhaps. And then the guy said, "Don't worry, I'm not going to kill you. I just want your money." So he wanted the money. At the same time, others were searching others, and when they found a mobile phone or something, they were just taking it, and sometimes some of the phones were ringing. They were putting down, throwing it down, and then crashing it. And then a dinghy came from perhaps the other side of the river and collected them to be pushed back to Turkey. But before the dinghy arrives at the other side of the river, they were just pushed them midway into the water. Suyun içerisine ittiler herhalde sizi. Pushed them into the water, and then sonra
Daha sonra içimizden karaya çıkan ilk arkadaşımız bizi çekti ve çıktık. Tabii Aralık ayı biz suya omuzlarımıza kadar battık. Ve saat 4 civarı oldu. Çıktığımızda da havanın kararmasını bekliyoruz. O şokla ve korkuyla çalılıkların altına sığınıp biraz daha havanın kararıp bizim bu kez de Türkiye tarafında yakalanmadan evlerimize ulaşmayı istiyoruz.
Yani orada yaşadığınız kötü hadiseler yaşayanlar falan varsa biraz direkt olarak oralara geçersek iyi olur. Yani kim ne yaşadı falan. Mesela siz kurtulduğunuz zaman kalanlar ne olduğu gibi. The thing is, of course we were pushed back on the other side. Wet, cold December. At the same time, we were really scared of the authorities, Turkish authorities, to catch us because we were Turkish citizens, not third-party country citizens like Afghanistan or whatsoever. If they catch them, they would end up with torture, treatment, or unknown ends. So they made it to the other side.
Ve hava karardığında biz bir şekilde bir köye ulaştık. 5 saat boyunca yürüyerek yanımızdaki diğer kadın arkadaşımızın hastalıkları vardı ve orta yaş üzeriydi. O yolda biraz fenalaştı. Arkasından bir köye ulaşıp evlerimize Türk askerlerine, polislerine yakalanmadan ulaşabildik. Ne yazık ki bu olayda fiziki yıpranmanın yanı sıra psikolojik henüz atlatamadığım, hala devam eden psikolojik yanları da var.
So we were lucky actually. We walked about 5 hours. We were really scared. With wet clothes, we walked about 5 hours to a village. Usually villagers also, with patriotism, they call police. But Hüsniye's story was kind of, it ended up in a good way, in a happy way, because they made home after that. There was a lady who was sick, mid-aged lady. She went more sick. She has been struggling with psychological problems still. She says, I still couldn't, recover from the psychological trauma. There was nothing bad physically, but at the end, the trauma we lived still on me. Yeah.
How did you come to Holland?
Tekrar denizden deneyerek tekrar geldi. Yani 1 yıl sonra buna cesaret edebildim. Eşim Yunanistan'daydı. Benim de orada tutuklanma riskim vardı. O yüzden geçmek zorundaydım ama 1 ay boyunca bu hadisenin nightmare cesaret edemedim ve biraz psikolojik tedaviden sonra tekrar denemeye cesaret ettim ve geldim. 2 yıldır buradayım.
This time she tried the sea, Aegean Sea, not the river, but the sea.
Second time,
yeah. Her spouse was in Greece. Pushbacks are kind of less possible on the sea. I mean, there are pushbacks in the sea with dinghies, the coast guards of Greece, but the actual pushbacks are, on land over the river. So she tried. Okay, Ingeborg does not agree.
Same nightmare in the house.
Yes, yeah.
It's
So
not like a competition.
yeah. In this, so she tried through the sea and she made it. And for the past 2 years, she has been living here.
Where did you land from the sea? On which island?
Hatırlamıyorum.
No, don't remember.
And since when are you in Holland? Sorry about that.
About 2 years. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for your story. Bravo.
Yeah, I think we're running out of time, although the 10 minutes passed. Yeah. Okay, all right.
Can I say?
Sorry?
Say something. I'll wait for
Yes, okay. So I just wanted to say, I just missed actually, my friends told me that there's some, this program is online. And there are many people, at least more than, about 200 people have been watching us live, so much more, many more than the audience here. Ingeborg is an artist from the Netherlands. Annick, sorry. That's my... Right. But she is also involved with Pushbacks. She ended up her art combined with Pushbacks. How are you involved, Annick?
Well, how am I involved? I was asked by IDP, the organization, for with the dialogue platform, right? To organize an exposition on the pushbacks, which I first have to thought about because I also didn't exactly know what pushbacks were. Of course, I heard about it, but I didn't exactly know what it was. So we first wanted to contact some victims and interview them, and we did it online. And it was together with my two partners, also artists Anne Hofstede and Nel Berger. We interviewed the victims and we heard the stories, and they were very vulnerable. So I thought it was, I was really moved by the stories. And I think as now the stories are leading, the individual stories are leading for the exposition, because then you do understand where people go through. So on the exposition, as you can see downstairs, I'm better in expressing by art than to express by words. So I prefer to make you see the exposition instead of me explaining everything. Anyway, so the first thing we did was I asked Anne to make animations of the stories which were told by the victims. And she did it in a very beautiful way, I think. And she also used part of the interviews in the animations also by text, so you can read it. And then it's like a journey. So you first hear the stories of the victims and you see the animations, and then you go to a big rock, which I built. I'm a photographer, but I created out of photo prints, I created some kind of a sculpture. Because I was thinking of a Greek myth when I heard the stories about the victims, and the Greek myth is also about a journey a couple of brave men make, and they have to travel through big rock walls. It's like a passage, but they don't know what's going to be on the other side, and the only way for them to pass this passage is to row as fast as a pigeon can fly. So they row very fast, and I thought, well, it's quite kind of brave to go there, but you still don't know what's lying on the other side, and the future is very uncertain. And so I thought it would be a very nice symbol to use this rock and to build it out of these photo prints. And I put voices of the interviews inside the rock so you can walk around it. And when you're around it, you can start again and start again, which also symbolized the pushbacks, that the journey starts again. And once you even arrived somewhere, you still don't know what your future would be like. Yeah, I think, and also, but for me, the landscape is important. So the voices are left in the landscape. The disasters that happened are still in the landscape. And then you end at the table of Nell Berger, and she made a very beautiful table. I think a table is very important to sit down and to look at each other and to reflect on the things that happen, and where you can meet each other, and it can maybe be use some comfort to talk about these subjects together. And you also have the possibilities to make embroideries, to leave messages for the victims, so the victims can leave messages. I also asked all the victims to write all the stories down, which maybe helped them to process their feelings and what happened. And all the letters are together in a book, and we want to collect as many as possible. So please, if anyone knows any more stories, also ask people to write it down and to send it to us, so we can build on this book, and it visualizes how big the problem is. But please, I would invite you to go down and see for yourself. Thank you so much.
Okay. No problem, no problem. It looks like, unfortunately, major powers, European powers, Greece, Brussels, all agree on sorting refugee problem with pushbacks. Thus, unfortunately, it's not taking place on media. We don't see them on news, and therefore, these kind of events and people like you listening to, supporting these ideas, spreading the word is really, really important. It's particularly important because this is violation of clear international law. There are clear clauses of UNHCR, 1951 Refugee Convention bans countries to push refugees, political refugees, back to the country of origin. That's called non-refoulement. And this is binding over these undersigning 149 countries of the time of member UN states. When it is binding, you cannot do it. I mean, it's their citizens, and we cannot cross on red light. It's binding. It's must. You cannot cross. If you cross, there's a punishment. And non-refoulement is binding by UN to all undersigning 149 countries. Hence, it is violated in the very front of our eyes. When the countries agree on this as a solution, you cannot say anything. We talk, people talk, activists try to do something, but unfortunately it doesn't go any further than that. What we will do, Ingeborg is a very good, very brave person. She challenged two prime ministers. We have to use, I think, every opportunity, every chance to voice this up. Ingeborg, you have a few words. Maybe you want to ask questions. Maybe we can just open floor to questions. Maybe you can just add your comment during the questions and Q&A sessions. Yeah, please.
Thank you. So my question is for the journalist. So you explained all the process regarding the pushbacks. So I would like to know if you or anyone else has been able to record like a video or take photos of those happenings. in order to maybe facilitate to open a case in national or international judicial mechanisms?
There are many recordings. Guys, go on the internet. Aegean boat reports, amazing one-man NGO. There is this Tommy Olsen. He sits above the polar circles, North Norway, believe it or not. He is a teacher in a daycare center. He has himself 5 children, and he works every night. I don't know how this man exists because he never sleeps. And all the refugees that cross from Turkey to Greece, whether it's in the Mediterranean, they call Aegean Boat Report, and Tommy Olsen puts it on Twitter, on Facebook. If you go to aegeanboatreport.org, you will find all the stories. I interviewed him and I asked him, why do you do this? You are not paid for this. By the way, like they want me in prison, they want me dead in Greece by the current government. Tommy Olsen in the Greek parliament has been called a terrorist and has been accused of being the head of Turkish traffickers. You understand? What he does is he collects the data very carefully from where they live, with pings, how many persons, what names, pictures of them, when they have already arrived on Greek islands, when the contact stops, this is when phones are stolen, and then when they are found back in Turkey, dead or alive, even handcuffed. Do you know that the Greek Coast Guard, now, because the pushback she was talking about was in 2019, so this was very sweet pushbacks. In 3 years, they have evolved in uber violent events. She had the nicest form of pushbacks. By now, what is happening can hardly be described. So Aegean Boat Report has all that. Then there are many images from drones, etc. You can find them on alarm phone. Are you serious? Refugees' lives matter. All these things are on Facebook and on Twitter, and there are many films also filmed by refugees who somehow kept their phone, and you see the Greek Coast Guard screaming horrible stuff and scaring the people. You must understand that, of course, I'm sure that all you guys ask yourself, why did nobody else ask the question that I asked for 2 years? Because when I asked it, this shit was going on for 2 years already, okay? Well, now I know why. You have no idea what happens to you when you ask such a question. What happened to me afterwards was, I call it digital witch burning. If it would have been the Middle Ages, I would have been burned, like they did in the Middle Ages. What they did with me as a woman, how they wrote about me, because the press, on the world list of freedom of press, with this miniature Mitsotakis, Greece has plummeted from the 47th place to the 108th, behind Botswana and Moldavia, okay? And just like he denies the pushbacks, because he still lies about it. It's amazing. There is a Himalaya mountain of proof, and not only of the UN, but mostly of journalists. Lighthouse Report, name them, and Der Spiegel, The Guardian, the New York Times. And Mitsotakis, this guy, says it's all Turkish propaganda. How dare you follow Turkish propaganda? Now, we all know there is Turkish propaganda. We all know there are pogroms in Turkey. We all know what happens to refugees in Turkey and to their own citizens. There's still 160 Turks in jail because they are Gulen from July 2016 when there was the Erdogan coup, right? I'm glad you're not there. They all lie. Now, can you imagine? You are a victim of a pushback, and not like she thankfully is once, but 6 times. 6 times. She was traumatized by one time. Can you imagine the psychological traumas of being a victim for 6 times? And then you see on television this guy and the Dutch Prime Minister and Mitsotakis is the horror minister of asylum and migration. He orders the pushbacks, okay? Mitsotakis orders them. Say, no, we don't do that. This is all Turkish propaganda. This is why in my question I said it's like narcissistic abuse. Because what is narcissistic abuse? You deny the truth of the victim. That's what narcissists do. And we are governed in the whole of Europe, also in the EU Commission, by narcissists. The Dutch Prime Minister is lying, the Greek Prime Minister is lying, Erdogan is lying, Orban is lying, in Sweden they're lying everywhere. And what happens to you as a journalist when you speak truth to power? You are assassinated as a person, as a journalist, as a woman in the press, which in Greece is controlled by pro-government press, paid by the Greek government. This was on television for 3 weeks, all the time, and they cut my question in half. So they did not show the Greek people that I also attacked the Dutch Prime Minister. So they made me out to be oh, you only attack Greece, you are a spy for Erdogan, you are paid by Erdogan, you are here to destabilize Greece. And what they wrote about me, I should be raped, I should be saved and thrown in the sea and be drowned, I should drown like the rest of them. They threatened to burn my house, they threatened to hurt my children, they threatened to burn my dogs. The guy threw a stone into my head, and then I had to leave the country for 7 weeks. So, yeah, you have to be brave in this time and age to tell the truth. But I think the truth must win, not will, but must.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, I see yes there. So, a known face.
First of all, thank you for your participation. Each of your speech was really unique and important for us. But what I'm wondering is that, by the way, my question is to the journalist. What I'm wondering is that if you are the Greek president, how would you respond or react to this massive migration flow?
I'm a journalist and I'm not a politician. Yeah, okay. What we see right now is a development with the speed of light towards a new fascist era. And I'm very afraid that what we're heading for is going to be much worse than the worst ever, namely the Holocaust. It's going to be worse. My personal belief is the world will never be like it was. We have a climate crisis and we have a refugee crisis. Now we have 100 million refugees worldwide, including South America. In 2030, with the Ukrainian war, which will cause a famine in Africa, we will have 700,000, okay? But 700 million refugees, 100, 700 in 8 years. We cannot stop this. No, for me, the solution is not make it fourth Europe. build a wall like we're doing now around what is Schengen and just shoot at everybody and drown them. I think the only solution for a humane future is welcome the xenos, the foreigner, embrace him, make him feel and her safe. And yes, there will be extremists, and yes, there will be the ISIS guy coming through, but 98% of the refugees, even when they're Muslim, they flee for good reasons and they want to be in what is left of our democracy, but it's not anymore. And the last thing, sorry to say so, if one thing has been proven by the Ukrainian war, it is how deeply racist Europe is. Because there are closed borders for people of color and with Islam background, but suddenly when you're Christian Orthodox, you have blue eyes and blonde hair, oh, come and you're welcome. I mean, the year that Greece pushed back 40,000 persons, which was from what did it start in February, the Ukrainian war, till now, on the other side, it welcomed 48,000 Ukrainian refugees. And the people of color and Muslims, they're put in faraway camps like the Samos. He brags about an Auschwitz lookalike built by European money horror camp on Samos, where I have been, by the way, as the first journalist ever. And so he made a complete fool of him there. And, you've not been to Samos. So what we do with the refugees of color and Islam, we put them out of sight, where they have no face, no voice. They are in Auschwitz lookalike barbed wired, huge detention centers monitored by high-tech software monitoring and spyware, and the Orthodox people, they can come. So, answering your question is we should welcome everybody, we should stop the climate crisis, and we should stop the wars, because of course, if we don't stop the reasons why they flee, they will keep on fleeing.
Thank you very much again. I think we are sharp on time, and here time ends. Our time ends. I would like to extend my thanks to all speakers for coming and speaking, enlightening us on this special issue, and you too for listening, coming here, and to the audience online audience. Watchers, also want to thank them as well. Hope this is another brick on the wall. This is a small step for the solution of pushbacks. Thank you very much.